Hi, welcome back to Serger Tip Clips. Today I'd like to show you how to do a lettuce leaf edge. This was from a question that came through my website from Brenda, and I'm delighted to show a video of how to do this technique because you see it on tons of ready-to-wear things. It's a very easy technique. It looks much more difficult than it is, but it's very easy to do. You see it on women's clothes, kids' clothes, and it's really, really cute. So I'll be happy to share it with you. Here's an example of the lettuce edge or lettuce leaf edge that's ruffly and very nice. This works very well on the crosswise direction of knits, but you could also do this on the bias grain line of a delicate woven fabric such as silk chiffon or a synthetic chiffon. You'd have to test it out just to be sure. Some good thread choices for this are woolly nylon, delicate embroidery threads, or utility serger cone thread. And you'll test your stitch length to get good coverage depending on what type of thread you are using. So let's go over to the machine. I'll show you the thread and machine setup for this to take this straight edge to the ruffled edge. It's fun. Before we start stitching, let me give you the setup. The machine is set up for a 3-thread rolled hem. I have my right overlock needle in. I have my stitch selector is down to D. You'll double check your manual to see what the rolled hem settings are for tensions. Usually the lower loop retention is considerably higher than the upper looper. And I have my differential feed set as low as possible, below 1 or N, because I want to slow down those front feed dogs to help stretch the fabric as it feeds through the machine. I have my stitch length on 1 and my stitch width on this machine is down to M, but again, you'll double check on your machine to see what that is. And I am going to cut off with the knifing gauge, about 1/4 of an inch, because this is just a test piece of fabric. But one other tip that I want to mention is this is a very stretchy, it's a beautiful lightweight pink knit, but one little caveat on your technique is don't pull your fabric too hard, because if you do, you may find that your stitches bounce off the edge of the fabric. I'll show you a pinch and pull method after you're done stitching the edge that will give you the ruffling, and that's just in case when you take it out from under the machine you see that the edge is only wavy and not as ruffly as you wanted. There is a fix for that, so don't pull too hard because you don't want the stitches to fall off and have to start all over again. So let me start stitching. And one other tip is with the rolled hem, I'm set up. I also wanted to mention that I have woolly nylon in my upper looper, and you may need a thread cradle to get that through the eye of that upper looper because it's a very soft, fluffy thread, but it gives you marvelous coverage on a rolled hem. It's very pretty, and this is kind of a hot pink for contrast. But you can see already how the chain kind of pigtails, and one little thing that I've had happen to me sometimes is that tends to go back and get caught in the stitching. So until your machine takes a few stitches in the fabric itself, hang on to that chain just to avoid having it get caught. So let's get started. It's always nice if I get the fabric under the foot so it moves. Okay, it's starting to stitch, so I can let go of that. I'm going to just gently pull back a little bit. And with my left hand, I'm helping guide that fabric forward, because when you're pulling back, you're working against the feed dogs advancing the fabric. So I am keeping my left hand on the fabric to help it move forward. And you're cutting off a uniform amount to make sure that your edge is straight and even. Okay, let me just cut that off. Now, here's an example. You can see that the edge is wavy. It's not bad, but it's not as ruffly as that first example that I showed you over at the table. So here's the fix for that. I take approximately 2-inch intervals of the fabric edge, and you only want to pull the edge. You don't want to pull the whole body of the fabric, or you'll distort your garment and the measurements. You're only stretching the edge. I take with my index finger and thumb about 2-inch sections, pinch it, pull it, move it along, and you can see the ruffling is increased tremendously. But the nice thing about the pinch and pull after the edge is stitched, those stitches are still nice and secure. Nothing is falling off or shearing off the edge of the fabric. And you see the difference between that and when I first stitched it? Super ruffly, really beautiful. That woolly nylon gives you wonderful, wonderful coverage. So that's the lettuce edge. Thanks again, Brenda, for the inspiration for this tip clip. Thanks for joining me for another exciting tip clip. And believe me, if you have any questions or anything you want me to show, I will be delighted to take a look at your suggestions and questions, and you could be part of an upcoming tip clip. So thanks for joining me, and see you again soon.